Welcome to beautiful downtown Grand Forks. It is February 2nd, 2026. This is the time and place for the Grand Forks Growth Fund JDA meeting. Item 1.1 is roll call.
Weigel.
Here.
Osowski.
Here.
Berg.
Here.
Lensky.
Here.
Friedels.
Here.
Sandy.
Here.
Veen.
Here.
And Mayor Baczynski.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 2 is action items. 2.1, Hive operational updates. Mr. Conlon.
Thank you, President Weigel, members of the authority. Here tonight with just the one item on Hive operational updates. We have Tom Sawyer with GF Hive Management and his team. They'll give you a rundown here in a little bit on what the proposed changes are tonight. But just wanted to highlight a few quick items for you before I turn it over to them. The first is really just a housekeeping item to make you aware of. We plan to bring forward a code change to City Council in the near future here to remove references to sort of defunct Tech Accelerator Advisory Board. That board was put into place when the Hive was sort of it was still under construction. We had a vastly different idea of how we were going to sort of operate things at that time. Once our initial operating model shifted to being staffed in-house, that structure really didn't make a whole lot of sense anymore. So the JDA has since served as that advisory governance function, that entity for the Hive. Which has really worked well for us. So just more so giving you a heads up that in the coming weeks, we plan to formalize and clarify that at the city council level. So more for your information there. Second thing I wanted to highlight is that while you'll hear about a few proposed changes to the membership agreement and structure that we utilize currently at the Hive, or that we're looking to utilize at the Hive, we do still intend to hold firmly on that 3-year occupancy term limit for accelerator participants. This all stems back to sort of the root or the purpose of the EDA grant that funded the fit up of the building for its use as the tech accelerator it is. The goal for that is obviously to help these companies grow up and out of the Hive. We're not in the business of standard commercial office space or that sort of thing, and this limit emphasizes that. So just wanted to make it clear, I guess, that the proposed changes don't impact that the occupancy time limit at all, and will help us further that EDA funded purpose. The last thing I wanted to mention before I'll ask Mr. Sawyer to come up is the proposed changes presented tonight are presented with the overarching contingency sort of subject to city attorney review and approval. We've been actively working with Mr. Sawyer and his attorney and staff on some back and forths on the membership agreement all the way up until just about an hour ago, where we attached the latest version, the very latest draft, and I'll emphasize draft. It is still a work in progress of the membership agreement to your agenda. But as we continue working on that, what's requested from the JDA tonight, rather, is to approve moving forward with the operational changes as will be described, developing a membership agreement that reflects those changes, and then proceeding with that agreement from there. We then plan to be back in March with another update on that, and then with the final agreement for your information at that time. But with that, I think I will kick it to Mr. Sawyer and his team.
Good evening. Thank you very much for giving me the chance to present our update for the Hive. This is probably our first formal update, and I wanted to give you a quick briefing on some general things going on, but I was hoping to get into the meat and potatoes of one of the things I'm here for, which is to request a change for a new agreement for membership at the Hive, and to request a removal of some insurance requirements that are limiting some of the memberships that can be sold to students and to small businesses. So let me start with the big fun news up front, the fun part. I have 6 companies that are very interested in signing leases at the Hive. Sorry, lease is the wrong word. Membership agreements. We're trying to switch out of leases and into membership agreements now. And that's based on some recent history and some recent experience. But currently the Hive has a membership agreement and a lease, and it was served the Hive well for the period that it was in place, but we believe there's a new, more flexible structure that we could put in place, and we've started that process right now. We are working with those 6 companies. I need to get this new agreement in place so I can sign those 6 companies. We are also working on resolving the disposition of the thread equipment We, as the manager of the facility, are way down deep on the chain of folks that are being talked to, although Dan has been very kind to keep us in the email loop as much as possible. And I would like to throw a quick kudos out to Todd and city staff from Public Works. We were checking on some of the equipment in there and found 6 LiPo batteries that were bulging and in danger of bursting. And any one of those could have taken out most of the second floor of the hive. And so made a call to Todd. I was grateful that he was able to help me find the right folks in Public Works who were able to jump on it quickly and get those batteries disposed of within an hour or two. And so thank you very much, Todd, for that. We're starting the process of reviewing the 2025 financial performance of the Hive so we can start to use it as a baseline for the 2026 forecast that we owe you. That 2026 financial plan and forecast is also dependent on this new agreement. I can't know exactly what we're going to be able to collect revenue-wise until I get those agreements in place. So with that, we're requesting approval of the new Hive membership agreement. You have a draft in a certain form right now. I am fine with the original base unit. I am fine with working through what that draft should be. And we're also requesting changes to the insurance requirements. Specifically, it calls for a $1 million general liability insurance coverage. That's going to keep any student from ever becoming a member of the Hive. It'll keep most small companies, very small companies, startups, single-person entrepreneurships from being able to afford that insurance. In our opinion, there is no greater liability to the city because it's the same as a guest walking into the Hive that doesn't have insurance. It's the same as other people walking into the Hive for meetings. That our insurance that we were required to produce under our management agreement with the city does create that coverage. And so we believe that there is no additional risk by removing that insurance. We can certainly discuss where that should start and stop. My argument is if you are leasing or what is effectively leasing space, you are taking occupancy of space, you would need to meet that requirement. If you're just a single member, then you would not necessarily need to meet that requirement. So those are the two things. That agreement and merging the membership with the lease structure does one really big thing for us. It removes a real estate, a legal codicil of real estate whereby we would have to get the sheriff to evict somebody. We'd have to start eviction proceedings. We have had 2 rather public companies that were no longer going to stay in the Hive. Both of them stopped paying rent, and our abilities to be able to manage them. Thankfully, both of those companies voluntarily agreed to cancel their leases, but another company in the future may choose not to. And so that creates an obligation that we would have to go through to be able to evict them from the building. Furthermore, I can't really evict them if they just break the rules. If I have a habitual harasser or anything like that, we can block them, but they would still have a lease agreement in the Hive if they're occupying space that would have to be terminated. So we're recommending that we get away from all that. It gives us the opportunity to change membership structures midstream within a membership term. If somebody wants to add more services to their memberships and pay more, we can do that very easily. The current membership agreement has a different kind of structure than what we are proposing. So we would have the ability to month by month be able to change some of those revenue streams. So with that, I'm open to answer any questions that you might have. But we request that we can get approval and movement on this. And I'll before I open it up and be ready for questions, I'm not exactly sure. This is only my second time with you here today with JDA, and I'm not exactly sure about exactly what the procedure would be. We felt that we were being hired to kind of move at the speed of business, and that we would need to, that we could develop the different kinds of agreements, that we could do the different things that we needed to do this. I'm not saying we can't do that, but this is where there's a lot of process that's still involved with managing the Hive, and that process is being measured in profit. And a delay of 30 days on this new agreement is about a $20,000 gross revenue impact to the Hive. And I thought you brought me in to bring, more money to the Hive. And right now, I was hoping that we could find a way to get approval on this agreement somehow. So with that.
Thank you, Mr. Sawyer. Mr. Sandy, questions?
Thank you, Mr. Costin. if we got a waiver of subrogation from Mr. Sawyer's insurance company, that should cover us, shouldn't it?
Their coverage is for their conduct. I don't know if it necessarily would apply to conduct by members as to whether their insurance would, if a prime member or an associate member engaged in certain conduct that created liability on behalf of the JDA or the city, or I'm not sure their insurance would necessarily cover it. With that said, I certainly appreciate that the amount of coverage is significant, and there's a reason for that. We want to make sure that we've got sufficient coverage from the JDA or the city in case we get brought into a liability situation because we're the owner of the premises. I think we had a discussion about this last week about a bridge. If you own something, you can be brought in whether there's liability risk or not. You're still in the litigation pool, so to speak. I don't know if that's answering your question or not.
It does, but, and I'm not the attorney you are, and I certainly, but if their insurance company says that we will hold you harmless regardless, that should cover us.
If we had something like that, I know we've got some indemnity provisions from Mr. Sawyer's entity for their conduct. I don't know if it would that indemnity clause would necessarily fit with a third party that is a member of that facility, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I wonder if we couldn't draft language that would be appropriate or that we could agree to, and maybe their insurance company would agree to it. I don't know for sure.
We certainly explore that.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Mr. Sawyer.
Mayor Buczynski.
Mr. Gossett, how did we have, prior to the Grand Sky taking over the management, how did we manage was there an insurance requirement for those members previously?
Believe there was a insurance requirements for both members that did not have a lease, and also within the lease agreement itself. There was liability coverage under both, because you might be a member without actually renting space within the facility.
And was it in the same dollar figure, that amount? Maybe Andy would know.
I can't remember the exact number, but it imposed that liability, or excuse me, that insurance coverage for all members. And so I can appreciate Mr. Sawyer's comment is that you may not be able to afford, if you were a student member, or to be able to acquire that level of coverage.
Ms. Linsky.
Can you explain what a student membership is? Are they leasing an office in the building, or?
No, ma'am. No, a student member might just be somebody who wanted to pay $50 a month to be able to come and use the Hive, just for they're an aviation student, an aerospace student that wanted to come to the Hive to be around some of those companies. We anticipated it also being a chance for interns. So for companies to be able to hire interns and pay a student membership rate rather than the full freight corporate rate that we want to charge for folks. And so that would be anybody with a valid student ID, regardless of their other employment status. If you're enrolled in a university or a technical school, high school, you can be a student member, and somebody else can pay the membership fee for you. But we want to encourage those kinds of opportunities for people.
So I apologize. I don't understand, because if the spaces are leased out, how is this student just going to come hang out in someone else's space?
Because there are a number of just open common areas around the Hive. We're going through the process of buying couches and tables and places for people to be able to just kind of work like a coffee shop.
Sure. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Further questions? President Sandy.
So I for one love that Mr. Sawyer and his team want to work at the speed of business. I don't think that our government process should slow them down, because it is actually money for him and money for us. I don't know how we have to notice in advance. A week? Is it a week, or how many days in advance do we have to notice a meeting?
There is no time period. It's a reasonable time period. You get together every week as, as the JDA or the members of the JDA get together weekly. And so you could call a special meeting within a reasonable period of time. There isn't a time frame unless there is, here given, I get that they want to move quickly, but to call a meeting tomorrow, for example, probably would be unreasonable.
Certainly, but any Monday night, we could have a meeting. So
Correct.
if we're ready, next Monday night, let's have a meeting and keep you moving, Mr. Sawyer. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. We will open the public hearing on this item. Does anybody here wish to speak on item 2.1 regarding the Hive operational updates? Anybody here to speak on item 2.1? Seeing nobody, we'll close the public hearing. Is there Mr. Friedolfs, make a motion? Second by Lunsky.
What's the motion? Approving the agreement to go forward with still some draft work with.
That's what I believe it was as well. Is that correct, Mr. Gusted?
It's my understanding is to move forward with developing this new membership agreement with Mr. Sawyer's entity and with presentation back to the JDA as soon as possible.
Sounds good. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Seeing no further comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So motion to adjourn by Ms. Berg, second by Ms. Osowski. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.
All right, we'll keep on moving. We'll open up the Grand Forks City Council meeting for Monday, February 2nd. So welcome. Roll call, please, Maureen.
Weigel. Here. Osowski. Here. Berg. Here. Lensky.
Here.
Friedolfs.
Here.
Dean.
Here.
President Sandy.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 1.2, Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Item 1.3, Mayor's announcements. There are none this evening, so we'll move on to item 2, awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamations.
2.1 is presentation on community event public safety.
Chief Friedman, please.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me a few minutes to talk about this topic. Mr. Mayor, Council President Sandy, Vice President Weigel, members of council, our community enjoys many important events every year. These improve the quality of life. They bring in business. They provide joy and opportunities for area businesses, but they also come with some risks and challenges. And tonight I'm going to, again, spend a few minutes and talk about how we can mitigate some of these risks for some of these events. So there are several things that are driving my concerns, our concerns as a police department. When we look at a limited sample of the events that we have every year, so it's around that 15 to 20 events, the ones that are most concerning for me are the large events that are outdoors. These have a lot of inherent vulnerabilities. First, they're very accessible by design. We want people to come in. We want to be able to get large crowds. And that means people can walk in, they can drive in, and they can also even participate or be able to observe it from multiple buildings or high ground, as we call it in law enforcement. These all present vulnerabilities. They're also known. We know when the event is going to happen. We know where it's going to happen. And that gives myself and the fire chief, the city, the opportunity to plan. It also gives those who are intent on causing harm the opportunity to plan. And these are also, unfortunately, high value to the community. They're also high value in terms of the number of potential victims that are there. They're large numbers of people. And whether it's an intentional or unintentional act, the ability to harm many people very quickly exists for these events. And this isn't just about intentional criminal acts. There are many vulnerabilities we have to look at for these events. So yes, we have our terrorist attack, somebody who plans and decides they're going to inflict tragedy. But we also have spontaneous criminal acts, somebody that just decides in the moment they're going to take advantage of the opportunity. Unintended criminal acts, typically, say, a drunk driver who wasn't intending on driving through a crowd but ends up doing that. And finally, medical emergencies, a heart attack, dementia, where typically, again, a driver suffers some kind of medical issue and ends up in a place that causes harm. Underneath all of this is, frankly, a heightened threat environment. Certainly since 2020, the willingness of some people to do terrible things seems to be on the rise. And we haven't seen the level of political violence that we have right now in probably a couple of generations. So there are many things that drive concerns for me when it comes to some of our special events. Just a snapshot of things to look at just by way of comparison, and these each correspond to one of the categories that I talked about. You'll notice all of these are from relatively recently, and if we were to dig back, we could find probably multiple instances of most of these, if not every year, then every few years. I won't go through all of these, but I just want to note a few things. Some of these communities are very similar in size to ours. Two of these communities, the sniper attack in Highland Park and the which was a planned attack, as well as the Christmas parade attack in Waukesha, those were both near my old agency. For the Highland Park shooter, that suspect came into my old jurisdiction and our SWAT team mobilized to try to find this person. He was apprehended in the area. And I also sat through a debrief from the Waukesha police chief who talked about this individual who in a fit of rage took his car and drove it down a parade route. And that chief advised that, yep, we had wooden barricades, we had officers working, but in retrospect, there were so many vulnerabilities they had not addressed. And in almost all of these instances, there were vulnerabilities, no overwatch, no vehicle barriers in place, lack of contingency planning. And, you know, the goal for me is to try to learn from the experiences of others, and having taken the last year and looking at how we plan those events from a police department side, there were definitely some vulnerabilities that I felt were important to address and also addressable. We can't stop everything, but we can certainly start to do hardening of our event. So this wasn't a spontaneous issue that came up with me last year. Started to identify some of those events that were vulnerable, looking at them, working them, being out and about with them, talking to my staff. Met with city partners, very grateful for the support of our fire department, our streets, our transit, talked to Altru. These are all folks who have to work these in one manner or another. Took time to talk to our law enforcement partners, whether it was with Chief Clark or Sheriff Schneider, Lieutenant Panasek with Highway Patrol, Chief Headland, and said, hey, we're looking at these events. We know there are some vulnerabilities. And then ultimately, after working through a number of details, worked with city finance to get a sense of, well, what would this look like? Because there is an ask here. And, you know, what would be the costs and the needs? And the needs are it depends on the event, but it comes down, we need to add more people. If we have an event like Holly Dazzle with, 10,000 visitors and we have 5 police officers working, that's not enough. We need to add more officers, but we also need to have officers that are in what I refer to as positions of advantage. These are not officers that are on a corner directing traffic. These are officers that are in reserve, in positions where they can monitor, they can track, and they can either intervene or stop a threat before it develops, or as it's developing before it inflicts maximum casualties. But it's not just about our ability as a police department. We also need to work effectively with some of our partners. First and foremost, it's with our fire department. At the Holly Dazzle event, we did some of these things. We had fire working. We had some additional police officers working. Streets came out and put up heavy vehicle barricades. And having fire, for example, at these events is really important. Number one, they're better at their job than we are at their job. So if it means rendering aid or controlling certain safety issues. They can do that better than we can. And it frees us up, if it's a criminal act, to deal with that criminal act. My cops are great. They're really well trained, but they can only do one thing at a time. And so if they're tied up doing A, they can't do B. Fire lets us do that. But really importantly, having fire on scene for some of these events, should it go bad, they're already in place, we're already in place to do something called unified command. And unified command is reserved for critical incidents where lots of bad things have happened. And by having both of us present for some of these events, we are going to be able to respond, coordinate, be much more efficient and much more effective, because whether we're there or not at the start of this event, very quickly all of us are going to end up being there: police, fire, EMS, etc. We're looking at trying to improve our command and control. So whether that's having sharing our response plans with other law enforcement agencies so they know when the event is, what the event is, who's working it, how to get a hold of the sergeant, give them a snapshot. If they respond in, they already know important information, or just working on our own internal response plans. And finally, that vehicle defense, as so many of these instances seem to be caused by vehicles. In fact, the New Orleans one, I didn't on the last slide, but that individual killed 15 people. He was heavily armed. He didn't kill anybody with his guns. He killed them all with his vehicle. And so how do we do a better job of controlling vehicles coming into our event zones? And again, we had great partnership with streets to put dump trucks and larger vehicles up at some of our critical intersections. Frankly, a wooden barricade isn't going to stop anybody. A squad car is not particularly effective. There's too much room on either side and they're not heavy enough. But a large vehicle like a dump truck, a bus, can really, not only will it stop a vehicle much more effectively, it acts as a deterrent, that somebody looking at that saying, this is not going to be an effective avenue of approach, I'm not going to do it. Also, Sergeant Brown, I believe what's going to happen, and if it does, I'm going to invite the council, Mr. Mayor. We believe we're going to get a demo by a dedicated vehicle defense system for one of our spring events for free, so that we can look at it and see. These barrier systems are extremely effective, extremely flexible. They're also very expensive, but it's something at least that we want to look at. So we're looking at a lot of ways to enhance our response. And what I believe, based on the number of events we're looking to upstaff, the level that we're looking to upstaff them, that $50,000 would likely cover all of the overtime costs for police, fire, streets, et cetera, in order to, again, provide a greater level of security for these events. Now, a couple of caveats with that. Just like we saw last Saturday, there was a protest. If we have a lot of protests in 2026 in Grand Forks, that's going to likely add potential costs. If we get specific intelligence that there's a threat and that event continues to go on, that's going to have some added costs. But having done the numbers, we believe that this is a very reasonable amount to, again, get us additional officers, some vehicle protection, and improve coordination in order to protect our community while they enjoy these important events for our community. Questions?
Thank you, Chief. Just first wanted to say thank you. I know you've been working on this for a little while and just appreciate your initiative on it. And just before we get the questions, I know just for the council that 50,000 can be within the administrative authority, so we can manage it that way and then bake it into the 2027 budget as we go forward. If council approves it, I would be hard pressed to think anyone would be against it, but we'll let the conversation take place. And I think we had Ms. Lunsky first and Ludi, Mrs. Sowski.
So will any of the cost be pushed onto the event organizer? I know right now they are required to pay for your services, which is totally understandable. But if you have more officers there, will their costs go up?
So my position is that these events, almost all of the events we're talking about, Councilwoman Lunsky, are open to the public. They're not controlled. They're outside. And so they need additional resources. Where that funding comes from for me that's not my primary concern. But I think there's certainly going to need to be a balance. Some of these events, if that funding were shifted to the organizers, my guess is some of these events probably wouldn't be viable. That's not my goal. I don't want to shut down, these important events. So I think it's reasonable, again, given that these are open to the public, they're accessible, they provide value beyond, just sort of to the totality of the community, that would not be my mechanism of paying for it, but ultimately the costs are the costs. But that's not what we would be requesting.
And then I was at street fair when you had the buses put in, and I think they said UND. It was festive. It was nice.
Yeah.
Is it a concern to you that someone could possibly drive around them? I don't know how you can't completely
Yep.
gate it off because someone needs to bring buns to their food truck, or
Right.
So I appreciate you putting the time and energy into this.
Yeah, if I may, thank you. So, yeah, you can't make it impervious because we want the event to be able to flow, and ambulances and fire trucks need to get through. But if a vehicle has to slow down to get around, a bus, that makes it much less dangerous than if they're able to do it at 70 miles an hour. So yeah, it's not perfect, but it tries to balance having the event, enjoying the event while reducing risks.
Well, I think everyone has appreciated you being at these events and really putting this in the forefront. So thank you.
Thank you.
So Selsky.
Yeah, first I want to say that I thank you very much for putting the presentation together. I think public safety should be our number one priority as city leadership. So thank you very much, and we're very lucky to have you. Does anybody know how much money, though, we spent in 2025 with overtime, like over their budget? Because I know when I see the quarterly reports, we're paying out small chunks. And I just want to make sure that you have adequate amount of money. And if we're not putting the right number on there, then, so.
Mayor Buczynski, members of the councilperson Osowski. So I don't have the numbers in front of me of their total overtime, but the portion that we're talking about here tonight is, so we currently fund a net between what we have billable for police overtime for the services provided at events. The net between the billable and our cost, we budget $50,000 a year annually for these events. So this $50,000 ask estimate would double what we budget currently. So that's what we've been talking about administratively bringing forward as part of the 2027 budget. That comes from your economic development sales tax for these services for events.
And I know, just to add on that, just general overtime, we had a large gap there. We've funded a lot better in recent years, so it's been much smaller. I think even within 50,000 recently. So we'll keep monitoring that, but that is important too.
But this
Also, being fully staffed helps. We don't have to go to overtime so much.
But this particular $50,000 will go into another fund that we currently have $50,000. So then they'll have $100,000 for events. Is that basically what it is then?
That is correct. It would go from 50 to 100. There is a billable portion, so the actual overtime that we budget is greater than that. Some of it gets billed out, but our net cost is 100.
Okay, so this bucket of money cannot be used for just everyday overtime for the police department? Or?
No, these funds are coming from your economic development sales tax, are targeted specifically for police overtime coverage for events.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other? Vice President Weigel, please.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second. Are we looking for a motion?
We might as well. I think that's fine. I mean, might as well do that. That's better than just general consensus. So we have a motion, a second. Any further comments on the matter? President Sandy, please.
So, Chief, I want to confirm I understand the type of events we're talking about. You said they're large events, they're the outdoor events that bring in lots of people, like UND students might come, like people from, I don't know, Thompson, Larimore, Northwood, Minto. lots of people from the county would show up to these events. I think we should talk to UND and the Grand Forks County and ask them if they would help staff up a little bit and pay for some of this cost myself, although I will support the $50,000 tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. You got Commissioner Berkey in the back chuckling right now. So, all right, seeing no further comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you all.
All right, move on to item 3, public hearings and second readings of ordinances.
3.1, public hearing and second reading of ordinance to dedicate right-of-way and final approval of the replat of lots 1 and 2, Block 1, Ray Richards Golf Course Edition, located at 3801 Demers Avenue.
All right. Mr. Brooks, do you want to have the public hearing first, or do you want to make any comments to kick it off?
Mayor, I think there is some additional PUD that was put out there that might be beneficial and might answer some questions that some folks may have.
Please continue.
So this afternoon, we did get some agreement on the updated PUD document, and I'll just quickly go through. There's 4 sections that I think are important to review. This is the golf course, Demers Avenue here, 34th is over here on the east, 42nd over here on the west. Townhome that has had a lot of discussion. I think that you folks have heard from Garden View townhomes are down in this area here. One of the sections, this whole area here is that top tracer facility. Right now we've got this as B3 along 42nd. There is a back portion here that would be part of that top tracer, where the driving range is for the top tracer. And there was some concern about whether or not in the future, this shaded region that essentially lines up with the A2S building to the south, that's commercial along 42nd, of whether or not this would be B3. Let's say that something happened and the top tracer went away. There was some concern about that B3 getting a little bit closer to some of these areas. So from this point here over to the townhomes, I think the nearest townhome is over 1,200 feet away. What we did on the shaded region is we're restricting that to accessory uses only for the unshaded PUD commercial PUD area to the west. So this is where you could do the generalized B3. This area here, it's got to be an accessory. So the driving range piece. And then you could also do, let's say something went away and they wanted to put that back into the golf course, then that would go back to the golf course as well. So those are the uses that could be done with that. This would be an unrestricted B3. I know one of the questions we did receive early on is whether there could be residential there. At the P&Z, we did say that would not be residential. That is not their plan today, but they wanted that as a potential. Let's say that the top tracer, which is meant to feed into this, help pay for the golf course long-term, they want that as a potential. So if it's a mixed use in the future, wouldn't be straight apartment buildings, but let's say they did a mixed use. That is something new as well. The last piece, or the next 2 pieces I'll talk about, the R4 here, limited max unit count here. So that's written right in the PUD. That's that 169 units. And then the last thing, and this is, I think, really something that we heard from the neighborhood, this is going to lock this larger area here, the golf course, into a golf course. And where the use is limited here are golf course and accessory uses, utilities, and infrastructure. So those are kind of the 4 things that the PUD is now made up of. I think provides security. Like I said, this isn't B3 area here. They've told us very clearly they do plan to do a top tracer, but that does provide if they do have some needs in the future, let's say that goes away, what they could do there. And that does match up what we have along 42nd. The distance from this point over to those closest townhomes, again, is over 1,200 feet. So with that, I know President Armacost is here as well. He can make a short presentation if that works.
President Armacost, thank you again for
Mayor.
being here and make it work in your schedule.
Thanks, Mayor Boczynski. It's good to see council. Thank you for allowing me to speak just a few minutes. And I just wanted to hit the high points from our conversation last time. And just to draw your attention again to the reasons why we wanted to redevelop this property, the first is to preserve an amazing asset for our community, the golf course, the Ray Richards Golf Course. And as we talked about previously, the financial position of keeping that running is a real challenge. And so this development would enable us to preserve that asset while doing so with the right financial picture. The second is it honors the Ray Richards family gift. So preserving the golf course really achieves the intent of what they had intended for that land to be used. It also provides greater amenities for the golfers of the golf course, because the golf course users will actually use that top tracer facility to check in for golf rounds, and it will provide them both beverage and food options, as well as a good place to check in to golf. In addition, it's another entertainment facility for our citizens of Grand Forks. For the university's use, this top tracer facility will also co-locate the UND golf program. So locker rooms, training rooms, places for them to hit inside and also outside when the weather permits. Actually, it's an all-season facility, so the weather will always permit outside hitting from this course. This is a feature that most golf programs don't have, and it's a real nice feature for our golf programs, both men's and women's, to have as part of their competition and their preparation. So it's really, it's for those reasons. In addition, I wanted to highlight the fact that to get here, I stressed with the development team, I stressed with all of the UND staff members that participation, discussion, listening very carefully with our neighbors and the citizens of the community was a vital piece of how we would move forward. And I'm really proud of the work that they did. I'm proud of the work that the city has done. And I'm very thankful for the neighbors who are here in large numbers tonight for their conversations, for their ideas about how we could make this a great resource for the city. I know there are still some objections out there, and you'll hear from them during open comment, but I do have to express my thanks for the work that they've done and the time they've put in. They're certainly a passionate group of citizens. So I'm looking forward to the vote. I really urge you, let's make this project happen. I would certainly appreciate the vote of council to do so. So thank you very much.
Thank you, President Armacost. And I'm sure if there's questions for you, you'll be able to stand by and help us answer those. But thank you for all the work. All right, with that, we'll open up the public hearing on item 3.1. So if you're here to speak on item 3.1, please come up to the mic now.
Thank you. I never want to follow President Armacost when he's talking. Mayor Boczynski, City Council, thanks for letting me talk tonight. My name, most of you know me, but my name is Dan Kselski. I live at 873 Orchard Circle. I'm the president of Garden View Townhome Associations. There's 46 homeowners in that organization. And we've been through this process with President Armacost and a crew for the last 10 months or however long it's been. Seems like 10 years, but it seems like it's been going on for a long time. We're kind of at a crossroads in the organization. There's really no good options for us in our opinion. You know, everybody can look at it a little differently, but we've been told if we continue and happen to win this, the university may sell a golf course. And obviously we don't want that to happen. It's unclear if that would happen, but the fact that it's even on the table is very concerning to us. And we'd rather have it be a golf course going down the road. UND's made in the past a lot of change and they've worked very closely with us. And we really appreciate that. But let's be honest, nobody really wants a driving range and apartments in your backyard. So that's kind of been our opposition throughout the whole thing. We've never really looked for compromise because, you know, I don't think there's anybody that wants this kind of thing in your backyard, but they have mitigated it to where hopefully it works out. But again, we still kind of oppose it in many ways. Some of the impacts you've heard over the time, some of the effects it have on us that we're very concerned about, obviously, is our quality of life, safety, property devaluation, noise, traffic congestion, light pollution, destruction of some of the great green space over there, and then the aesthetics of the apartments and the top golf range. When you look at the positive side, you have a pros and cons. Those are probably the cons. The pros, I have a hard time coming up with much data on that list because there's really no advantage to having this in our backyard. It doesn't help us in any way. So there is really no pros for us. The only good thing is if we make this compromise, the good thing is that there will still be a golf course there. So if it sells, we won't have that fear. We're a little disappointed in some ways. We kind of wish that maybe UND, the UND Alumni Association, the city, the park board could have maybe got together and keep the golf course the way it was without commercial development. Wish there could have been a little more synergy there, I guess, in the past, but that I don't think really happened. Kind of instead, they focused on development and revenue generation at the expense of a very nice golf course. Reluctantly, Garden View Board and the majority of homeowners have decided that while we do not support the proposal, we're not going to challenge the zoning changes. This is not an endorsement. It's a decision to avoid outcomes that could be even more damaging to our neighborhood. We would like to still ask that, and I know President Armcost has been very generous, that we're still part of the development and the buffer area. We'd like to be involved at that, the area between us and the golf course as we go down the road. We also asked, and this is kind of not a UND thing, but we do have a water issue between us and McEnroe, where the water used to run across the golf course, and I'm concerned when they do this development that some of that can change the water flow. I know Mr. Brooks has been working with me already on that, but that's something I think that really needs to be looked at as this goes along the way. And it's really not a UND problem, but it's more of an area in there between us and McEnroe that doesn't have the right drainage. And it's quite an eyesore and a mess back in that area anyway. So with that, I appreciate everything you guys have done. So thank you.
Thank you. I just got one comment, just for the record. Mr. Kosowski's hair was dark brown when this started 10 months ago, so it's turned them all into what you see today. But thank you for coming in those comments. Why don't we finish the public hearing, then we'll do comments at the end so everyone has a chance. I guess I got to sneak one in, but please, public hearing still open. Mr. Krosnick, please.
I got to bring an extension for this next time. My name's Andrew Krosnick. I do not live in Garden View neighborhood or immediately adjacent to Ray Richards. I have been working closely with many of the homeowners there, sharing facts and arguments to help them defend their property rights, home values, and quality of life in their established residential area. Right away, I want to address a claim some may make tonight or later that my opposition to this rezoning is motivated solely by self-interest, specifically to protect my own business, Albatross Indoor Golf Club, from potential competition from the proposed Top Tracer gamified indoor-outdoor driving range. Yes, I own and operate Albatross. The proposed golf complex, which will include golf simulators, would compete aggressively with my business. That's a fact. However, I'm not here tonight to oppose fair private market competition. I fully support businesses competing on merit, innovation, and customer service without government intervention tilting the scales. My concerns tonight are not about blocking a competitor for personal gain. They are about the integrity of zoning laws, the protection of adjacent homeowners' property rights, and ensuring this rezoning follows proper process and respects neighborhood character. This project involves changing zoning to enable high-density private apartments and a commercial entertainment complex next to single-family homes, issues that stand on their own, separate from any business competition. Multiple residents in the Garden View area, there's about 46 homes there, and nearby to the area have asked me to speak on this topic. I haven't yet because I've wanted to allow them to speak for themselves. But many are afraid to get up here and address council. Just because they have many more years of experience and wisdom than I do doesn't make it easy. It's super nerve-wracking to be in here and speaking. I've treated this topic as if my mom or dad were living in this neighborhood. Many of these folks have asked for an advocate, so I'm trying to provide that for them. Many of the neighborhood residents are out of town as well, with this approval process taking place during prime time snowbird months. I'm deeply disappointed in how the neighborhood residents have been treated in this process. They have been bullied and pressured by UND and some at the city level. Implied threats that if they don't step aside and accept the zoning, something worse could come, like course closure, more aggressive development, or loss of any green space. This kind of intimidation has no place in a fair zoning process. Residents deserve to voice their concerns without fear of retaliation or escalation. Their legitimate worries about property rights and community character should be respected, not dismissed or coerced. Tonight, I urge the council to deny this rezoning. This proposal from University District to Ray Richards Golf Course Plan Unit Development poses unacceptable risks to the adjacent homeowners who have invested in their properties, expecting stable, low-density residential surroundings. Here are the major concerns. First is inadequate traffic analysis and cumulative impacts. The traffic study performed by Bolton and Mink concludes this project alone won't significantly increase traffic on 34th Street to a point of requiring infrastructure change. However, it fails to take into consideration future development on 34th Street. Valley Senior Living and Altru are both already owners with approved zoning in place to develop an extremely large vacant parcel just down from Ray Richards. This includes a senior living facility and medical offices, which will generate tons of added traffic. It is incredibly irresponsible for the city to approve rezoning based on traffic that does not account for land already approved for future development. This ignores foreseeable cumulative impacts on congestion, safety, especially for families and elderly neighbors, and infrastructure strain. Second, unreliable zoning protections, precedents, and disregard for resident expertise. Zoning is supposed to protect residential areas, but recent history shows it's flexible when convenient and often disregards informed, expert-level resident input. The Domain Apartments project, a recent Dakota commercial and community contractors development on 47th Avenue South, almost the same development team as this Ray Richards project, is a prime example. It was already approved under PUD at 14 units per acre with a max height of 4 stories. They asked for, and they got, 30 units per acre and up to 5 stories, disregarding neighborhood concerns. Residents, including Mary Askham, who's a retired UND professor emerita and former chair of marketing with deep expertise in assessment, strategic planning, research methodology, exploratory studies, and data-driven analysis of community and economic impacts, along with other concerned neighbors, including myself, provided detailed evidence-based comments during planning and zoning and council hearings. They highlighted concerns about density, traffic, parking, property values, and long-term neighborhood character. Despite this credible expertise and thoughtful input, the council and P&Z advanced and approved. Ms. Olsowski was the only one to dissent. Another current example is the requested rezoning of the former Macy's anchor at Columbia Mall. That space is Zone B2 shopping center uses, but the possible new owner wants to change it to general business, allowing for storage and mixed use. Russell is a great guy. I hope he gets something worked out with GK, the mall ownership. I hope he actually buys the entire mall. But this zoning change disregards the mall ownership's property rights to maintain the zone purpose, which I saw they objected to. Even if the mall ownership is awful, and as a tenant there, I know firsthand, it doesn't mean they should lose their property rights. These are great examples of weak zoning protections. What is the point of zoning in our community if established uses and property rights are so easily overridden? Third, the Planning and Zoning Committee qualifications and process. The Planning and Zoning Committee isn't qualified to make zoning decisions. It's not a group of property rights or planning experts. These volunteers are appointed by council to whom they give recommendations. Seems like a rubber stamp situation when convenient. I'd say their time and our tax dollars shouldn't be wasted on such a committee any further. Let the city planner, Mr. Brooks, bring you projects directly. A big piece here is that state immunity does not apply here. City, you guys have full zoning authority. North Dakota Attorney General Opinion 98-L-38 from 1998 clearly states municipal zoning regulations or restrictions usually do not apply to the state or any of its subdivisions or agencies unless the legislature has provided otherwise. This immunity protects the state, so including UND, when it is directly using land for governmental or educational purposes, like operating its own golf program or student practice facilities. However, the opinion does not extend this protection to private leases or third-party commercial development. When UND leases portions of Ray Richards to private developers for market-rate apartments and a for-profit golf entertainment complex, this shifts to a private, proprietary revenue-generating venture, not a core governmental function. Because this is private commercialization, state immunity does not apply, and the city of Grand Forks retains full zoning authority. The council is not bound by any state preemption here. You have both the right and responsibility to deny the rezoning and PUD to protect nearby homeowners. UND already has authority for mission-related uses. They don't need the UD zoning. The city has zero say as long as it's tied to education. The rezoning is required legally for these private for-profit elements. The UND isn't just going through this process voluntarily because they want to be a good partner. Fourth, the direct threat to property values and neighborhood character, like Dan talked about. These residents already understand that UND can do as they wish for university-related missions, like student housing, athletic facilities, and educational buildings. They also realize UND most likely won't make that investment themselves, as its proximity to campus isn't ideal. Introducing high-density rentals and a for-profit entertainment venue next door risks depressing home values through increased traffic, noise, and light pollution from traffic, and a more transient population. It alters the quiet, family-oriented, single-family residential character that residents have maintained and invested in for years. Fifth, the distinction between allowed uses and this commercial expansion. The proposed stipulations offer no real guarantees. UND golf program facilities, so student-athlete practice, exclusive use, are already permitted without rezoning. UND Golf can already build their own on-site facility for the teams, not a for-profit public facility. They could build a clubhouse and home for UND Golf today, and they could have years ago. The PUD change enables private commercialization, market rate apartments, and public entertainment. At the January Planning and Zoning hearing, Ms. Swinby asked if the Sweet Shots complex could later transition to residential apartments, kind of like Mr. Brooks was talking about. At that time, he said no, they wouldn't have the ability. Yet the paperwork and drawings showed B3 zoning with no restrictions listed for residential. B3 allows mixed use, so you can have commercial main floor and residential upper. And now it sounds like the developer wants to have that ability to do that later on. And it's something that the residents had voiced concerns about in the future. The mayor suggested at a prelim meeting a PUD stipulation for the golf course remaining a golf course for, say, 20 years. That was not written in when it went to P&Z that I saw. It was listed as golf course zoning separately with no time frame. Golf course in PUD means nothing on state land. It would still allow UND to use the land for university uses at any point. PUD stipulations mean nothing if UND pursues university-related uses. The only real guarantee is UND contractually agreeing to keep the golf course as a traditional golf course. PUD rezoning does not give these residents a guarantee. Will UND sign a contract with Garden View or the city of Grand Forks stating they will not stray from a golf course on the portion listed as golf course? Will they agree to anything contractually? Just zoning alone won't do that because it can be changed with ease. Let's talk about UND's misleading claims about financial losses, the sob story to sell this rezoning. UND cites ongoing losses of $400,000 to $500,000 annually, but this is misleading. Pre-closure, around 2016, it was plus or minus $20,000 annually. This was without alcohol and food sales and other options many courses have, which is pretty impressive for a golf course. Post-reopening losses include one-time amortized costs for reopening and challenges from suboptimal management and a temporary makeshift configuration, trailer setup, outsourced maintenance. Better operations could turn a profit without resorting to this large-scale private commercialization. President Armacost did recently acknowledge that the golf course is not and will not be the UND Golf's home course. They'll continue using Kings Walk and Grand Forks Country Club. It would be for indoor practice, locker rooms, and offices. Quite the facility and expense for a few months per year for a dozen student athletes on the back of the community. If worried about an indoor home for UND Golf, why no outreach to existing facilities like mine? They know I'd love to host them. They were set up in the old Hislop, now demolished, but no efforts seem to be made to integrate in the new Hislop, Pollard, or other campus buildings. It wouldn't take much space. I found out they now leased a luxury storage unit from Mac Construction, one of the Ray Richards development team members, for simulator space this year and next. A 2-year lease for over $40,000 per year. I'm not aware of any RFP or a competitive bid process for that procurement. Finances seem to be just fine for UND Athletics. The sob story shouldn't factor in rezoning regardless, but either way, the sob story should stop. In 2018, Mayor, you fought against rezoning your Kings Walk golf course for apartments across from your home. Same or similar reasons, traffic, values, character. You bought the property to stop it. Big dog move, one of the reasons why I voted for you. Now you seem silent on supporting other property owners facing similar threats. This project and the domain last summer. Where's that same voice for your constituents now? Some of you talk as if this rezoning is the best option for residents, like you know better and residents can't make informed decisions. It's quite insulting to many of these residents and very disappointing to observe. Residents deserve respect, not paternalism. In closing, the purpose of zoning in Grand Forks, where planning has been adopted, is to preserve neighborhood character and property values. Homeowners have the right to expect stability around them. This is not edge of town vacant land. It's heart of town infill, fully developed around it. If you believe in property rights, you cannot support this rezone amid present opposition. Deny it to safeguard residents' homes and communities built on trust and zoning processes. Reinforce their confidence in you that has been weakened by pressure, bullying, and disregarded input. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Krausnick.
Thank you.
Anybody else here to speak on item 3.1? Mr. Bouclair, step right up.
Thank you for having me. One minor comment for all of us.
Could you turn the mic on, please, so we could hear you? Thanks.
We're good.
Perfect.
A couple comments. It'd be nice you raise the podium up for speakers instead of we go up and down. It's been annoying, right? I don't know who designed this, but a small thing to make it more user-friendly for people being here. And also, if you could put the timer next to the podium for speakers could see that, that'd be much appreciated, sir. Good evening, Mayor Brzezinski, council members, and fellow community members of Grand Forks. Reason why I'm here to speak tonight is I'm deeply concerned about the transparency, accountability, and responsibility of community members and proposed zoning changes. I stand firmly with the majority of Grand Forks community members who oppose granting the University of North Dakota a zoning change to a planned unit development. This shift would allow apartment complexes and driving range on UND-owned land, eroding vital community green space that has been a cornerstone of recreation and neighborhood charm for generations. Also, this development is not necessary for UND to maintain its core financial or mission, which is education research as a land-grant university, not property development. I admire many of the graduates from UND and have family and friends, both the law, legal, and medical. I have nothing but pride of those friendships and the university education they received. They have a strong history of both legal and business developers and leaders they have developed. Now those same resources are being used to bully the members of the community for unnecessary development at the expense of the Grand Forks community as a whole. Simply, UND needs to stick to its core mission, which is education, research, period. Next, I want to transition, bear with me. As council members, you have a fiduciary responsibility solely to act in the best interest of the Grand Forks. North Dakota Central Code 40-08 outlines the structure and duties of the City Council, emphasizing they are a governing body responsible for judging qualification, ensuring decisions align with the public welfare. Furthermore, underneath the broad state ethics provisions, such as in Article 14 of North Dakota Constitution, Chapter 115-04-01 on conflict of interest, public officials must avoid situations in which personal and professional ties could influence their decision. These codes establish that you are fiduciary trustees of the city's future, bound to prioritize residents over external influences. This recognized fails the standard. It's UND-centric solution that they're asking you to solve, not a community problem, a UND one. UND does not have a financial problem. I'm an admirer of their UND Alumni Foundation. They have over 500 million investable assets. They recently completed another raise of $100 million. Hats off to the president of UND and the foundation for that accomplishment. That is truly amazing and will benefit many of the residents going forward as well as the citizens. Thus, the financial argument falls flat. I am not a golf court expert by any means at all. Barely like to golf, but I do appreciate the green space and having that readily available. I looked at that and it's a hacking up a perfectly good golf course. Based on past history, when community starts hacking up a golf course, they'll eventually turn the whole thing to apartment and development. I must highlight 2 council members whose full-time employment and their association with UND creates a clear conflict of interest in this matter. Council President Dana Sandy serves as Vice President of Business Development for UND Aerospace Foundation, a role that directly ties him with the UNDC's growth and financial strategies and success. You did a wonderful job, Mr. Sandy. Similarly, Vice President Danny Weigel is a police lieutenant with UND Campus Services, overseeing the investigation and security of the very institution seeking zoning approval. These positions inherently divide the loyalties, and decisions benefit UND could advance their professional careers, while those that protect Grand Forks might conflict with the employees' goals. Under North Dakota Conflicts Code, including Chapter 115-0401, which defines potential conflicts as a situation where personal interest could sway public actions, these actions require you to recuse yourself and abstain. Abstaining isn't optional, it's a sentence to avoid even the appearance of improprieties. Failing to do so erodes public trust, violates the fiduciary duty to act impartially. This is fundamentally an ethical matter, not a legal one. It's about upholding the integrity of a democratic process, even if state law doesn't mandate you recuse in every situation. I have over 20 years served on 4 different boards, including SCC reporting company. Not a doubt in my mind you 2 individuals should abstain from voting. I'm disappointed in the president of University of North Dakota not to acknowledge that you should abstain from voting. Furthermore, let's talk about ethics in the city of Grand Forks. Fun fact, do you know what's the only major in the city of North Dakota not to have a code of ethics or citizen council guideline, council handbook guideline is Grand Forks. Fargo, West Fargo, Mandan, Bismarck, Mindat all have code of conduct and code of ethics. I've read every single one of them. If you asked any of their board members, if they stuck to their guides, they would recuse themselves from voting, abstaining from voting tonight. The fact that that has not been acknowledged by any of you for Memorial Village, 1 or 2, or for this project, speaks to the ethics of the community and ties to the university. I'm trying not to repeat with previous speakers. In a state of transparency enshrined in our Constitution, this absence is unacceptable.
Mr. Bouclair, could you need to focus on the matter at hand?
Ethics is not a matter at hand.
Well, you brought up the Constitution in a zoning instance, so I'm just trying to make sure that we're on the focus of the zoning plan.
Mayor Brzezinski. Do you think ethics is relevant to this discussion?
Of course, if you could keep it within the realm of the zoning, that would be helpful. So please get it on rails and we'll continue.
I appreciate the discussion. You have 2 members that are strongly associated with UND. They're going to vote on zoning tonight. Is that relevant to the
Please continue. If that's the vein you're in, please continue, Mr. Bouclair.
Is that relevant to the discussion?
Please continue, Mr. Bouclair.
Yes or no, please?
And keep it focused on the zoning change. Thank you.
I'm voting on the zoning change and vote. It's a yes or no question. It also is relevant to the North Dakota Constitution because it's not a legal matter. It's an ethical matter. You have no ethical standards here.
Okay, please continue, Mr. Bouclair.
In the state where transparency is enshrined in our Constitution, but not always abided by at the city level, its absence is unacceptable and leaves us vulnerable to an unchecked conflict of interest. In conclusion, the council should require President Sandy and Vice President Weigel to abstain from voting on the UND-related matters due to their undeniable conflict of interest. Rejecting the zoning change to protect our community demands ethical leadership and commitment to transparency, accountability, and responsibility that everybody in the community deserves. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bouclair. Well, anybody else here to speak on item 3.1? All right, we will close the public hearing portion and I'll open up to council for discussion. Ms. Osowski, please.
Yeah, I appreciate the comments, and one thing that I've really tried to keep at the front of my head while I decided about this is, we're strictly talking about zoning. I am not a huge fan of these private public partnerships, but this is about zoning. And I do feel that the university has done a great job in taking into consideration the residents' concerns, and they really addressed them with the second project. And I guess I just want to say that I think the university has property rights also, and I think that they did a good job coming to a nice medium with their neighbors. So thank you, Mr. Armacost, for that very much.
Thank you, Ms. Osowski. Any other comments or motions from council? Mr. Veen, do you have something?
Just a couple comments. This area, of course, is in my ward. It's been very important to me. I've actually used the golf course for over 50 years in my own personal life, and retaining it as a golf course to me is paramount for what the community needs. Really, the highest and best use, I think, of this property is to continue as a golf course. But it also has to be sustainable. And one of the things that that's the advantage of this plan is because of the development, there's a way and a mechanism for maintaining the sustainability through both the multifamily and the commercial development. And that's what I think has helped me to transition, and I think many others. I'd hate to see this golf course ever go away. It actually did for a while and then came back. It was not a good case for the community, I think, when it was gone. We appreciate the work the university did to bring it back. And many of the people that I've talked to out there are worried about the risk of that next time not coming back. And the fact that this proposed development does assure that the golf course is maintained. I've talked to many people in the Garden View townhouses and outside, but still in the ward. And I think there's been a steady shift from the original concept when it came out, which was not very good, to the work that all have done. President Armacost, I know you've been very involved. We've met several times to talk about how we can make the necessary improvements. And I think those have now been incorporated and are part of this new development. In a perfect world, we wouldn't need those, but this is the case we do. And it started in part when when they did the planning for the 42nd Street underpass, when a portion of the golf course was going to be disturbed. And the timing of this to coincide with taking away of that portion of the golf course and being able to make the changes during a 2-year period when the course is going to be down. And the idea is that we can come back with a realigned golf course while it's down and the construction has taken place. That has been done, and I've done some follow-up by a very qualified golf course designer that retains or maintains the integrity of the golf course. And so I do agree that property rights are very important, especially with those adjacent. I've listened again to Dan Kosowski and had lots of conversations back and forth about how do we make this work. And I fully understand where he's coming from. The preference would always stay the same, but the actuality is change is going to occur now, and it will probably continue to change. And what I'm now seeing is that this is probably the best way to move the project forward for both the benefit of the city and the community. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Veen. Ms. Linsky, please.
So a couple people talked about property values. I guess when I saw this project, I would assume the neighboring property values would actually go up. I think people would be excited to live close to this. I'm just curious. A few people have said their property values would go down. I don't know if there's a property value study, but I just was curious why people assume their property value will go down. And I don't know who I'm asking this question to, but
Thank you, Ms. Lunsky. Any other comments from council?
Tammy
President
can
Sandy?
make sure that property values go up every year. That's no problem. I know, right? So, Mr. Mayor, I think we should address a couple of the comments that were made tonight. I certainly appreciate Mr. Kosowski's heartfelt. You can tell that the neighbors care a lot about their community and the greater Grand Forks community, and certainly Ray Richards. And so I do appreciate the fact that they continue to show up and that they have ongoing conversations with the university. Just for everyone's edification, we talked about this before, but 34th Street is a minor arterial. It was designed for the traffic, for the zoning for that area, just because there's going to be higher density development put in by the hospital. Likely, that road can more than handle that and any more traffic that the city of Grand Forks throws at it. So we don't need to do a traffic study to know that. We've already done the traffic study when we built the road. Also, Mr. Bouquet pointed out that UND needs to stick to their core mission. I agree, and I think that's why they're here. That's the whole point of this. Golf course is not part of their core mission, and running a golf course is not part of it, and certainly losing money on the golf course, which is why they're trying to figure out ways to get themselves out of dealing with that so that the university can actually concentrate on its core mission. And I think, again, you know, whether you like or don't like where we've come and where we've gotten to, I do appreciate that the university is actually trying to stick to their core mission and do what they do very well, which is educate lots of young people, to include most of the young people in Grand Forks. Last thing I'll say is Mr. Bouclair also said that we don't have any ethical standards. I think if you actually took a poll and compared us to all those cities that he named, I think you'd have a hard time finding a more ethical bunch amongst any of those other cities, regardless of whether they have a booklet that tells them how they're supposed to act. I act the right way because I know how I'm supposed to act, because I have my own ethical standards. Marin, lastly, I don't work for the University of North Dakota. I work for an affiliate organization. They have no control over my pay. They have no control over anything our organization does. We're a support organization. We're there to support them because we believe in the mission of our university. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, President Sandy. Any further comments or action on the item?
I'll move approval.
Got a motion to approve from
second.
President Sandy, second from Ms. Berg. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
And 3.2 is public hearing and second reading of ordinance to amend the zoning map to rezone from UD University District to Ray Richards Golf Course planned unit development located at 3801 Demers Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. And I think a lot of this discussion is similar to the last item, but
Yeah, just a reminder that this one will need supermajority. It is the rezoning, but other than that, I have nothing more to add unless somebody has questions.
Okay, why don't we open the public hearing on item 3.2? If anyone wants to speak on 3.2. All right, we'll close the public hearing portion and open up to council. Motion
Second.
approved from Sandy, second from Ms. Berg. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
And 3.3, public hearing and second reading of ordinance amending City Code Chapter 9, Article 1, cats, dogs, ferrets, Sections 11-0112 and 11-0117 relating to removal of impound fee amount and code language cleanup.
So now we got to the real reason everybody's here, is the cats, dogs, and ferrets ordinance cleanup. I'll open the public hearing on item 3.3. Any ferret holders out there? All right, seeing no one come up, I'll close the public hearing portion and open up to council for a long spirited discussion. Oh, we got a motion approved from Ms. Osowski, second from Ms. Berg. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. That's it for item 3. Move on to item 4, citizen comments. Do you have any citizen comments this evening, Ms. Lundmark?
I do. I have two this evening. Andrew Krausnick, both comments are on item 5.12.
5.12. Okay, perfect. Mr. Krausnick, please. And then just be aware on this portion, there's a time limit and we don't have it up there. We still got it up there.
Yeah, that's good. I got it.
Thanks.
I'll try to maximize my 3 minutes. I got to get back to work, but I will tune in online to the discussion. I hope you can answer my questions after I'm gone without wasting time disparaging me or painting me as negative. Once I leave, it's not working. Ask the residents that are paying attention. First, will you consider increasing our speaking limit to 5 minutes for adequate time to address issues and remove the overall time limit for speakers to avoid censoring residents? Thanks again to Ms. Berg and Mr. Weigel for not voting against censorship last July. Enclave, seeking a 5-year 100% pilot, another abuse of North Dakota Century Code. Market rate apartment complex with amenities, directly competing with existing multifamily owners and amenity businesses. The free market corruption continues. Pilot means payment in lieu of taxes. How many $0 payments do you guys have? That's a red flag. You did the same with Northridge's The Reserve, 5-year 100%. Another red flag. Some of you voted for Northridge's Franklin on 4th, 20-year 100% pilot, $0 for 20 years. It's a big red flag. Cherry picking of housing data continues. NGOs and bias groups like Praxis Strategy Group and the EDC push your narrative. Blue Ribbon Housing Commission 2.0 coming soon. Super unbiased, I'm sure. EDC and Chamber working on an incentive policy guideline. They're not independent. Look at their boards. More tax dollars to dial it all in. Red flag after red flag. Your main selling point is huge revenues. Politician talk for our money. Memorial Village. Hislop got 20 years, 90% pilot. Fieldhouse 20-year, 95% pilot. $21 million in exemptions. You promised millions in year 21 and beyond. But what if the properties are sold back to UND? UND then operates nonprofit for university needs, and they're tax exempt. Anything in the agreement disallowing that? Brookstone, 20-year, 90%, almost $12 million exemption. What if they sell to Grand Forks Housing Authority at year 21? Tax exempt. Where's the guarantee of future tax revenue you're promising taxpayers? Pilots are for primary sector business. NDCC 4057.1, 1994 special session minutes, and qualifications on the state tax commissioner's website tell us this. Apartments and retail are not primary sector. Commerce Department responds without certification. Have you guys questioned why you're sending these for certification? It's a big red flag. If you're so confident in the legality of approving these, prove it. Request an AG opinion regarding primary sector qualification and the application of due weight and substantial detriment to existing businesses. City Council has this authority without the city attorney. It's a statewide issue. The AG will opine. Why not pioneer this and prove us wrong? It's free, no taxpayer burden. What will burden taxpayers is a lawsuit. We'll fundraise. Taxpayers know these are impacting all of us. Our taxes have not been decreasing. Then you'll see our tax dollars for legal representation. You'll use our tax dollars for legal representation. It's pretty warped. As a first step, request the AG opinion. Pause all pilots and approvals until it happens.
Thank you,
Prove
Mr.
your confidence.
Krasnick.
Let's save taxpayer-funded legal action.
That's
It's an
your 3
absolute
minutes.
last resort.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Ms. Lundmark. Any other comments?
Yep, one, Sean Beauclair.
Mr. Beauclair, we've got the timers up on the side there. We'll start it right now. Thank you.
kindly. Continuing on the pilot program and fiduciary duty of you as council members. It's been stated by numerous people that the pilots are not valid unless you have the Department of Commerce signature on. You ever think of why they would have the Department of Commerce signature on them? It's to verify and double check the numbers to make sure everything is accurate. That is not Baker Tilly's responsibility. The amount of money involved is just incredible. You're giving Memorial Village 1 and 2 anywhere from $15 to $20 million of property tax exemption. Let me tell you about some numbers. It's often been said there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. Grand Forks has a new category, what I call fake numbers with pilots. Let me give you an example. First example is the city administrator talked about apartment vacancies being the 1 to 2.5% range. Why don't we do a market research by a checkbook? Go to Zillow, apartments.rec. They're all over 3%. And he's saying there's 1.5 to 2%. Fake numbers, no question. The another one I cannot swallow, and I'll offer this, is when you gave Memorial Village 2 and I believe 1 a 20-year you said that growth is going to be 1% appreciation in value. You locked in the taxes at 1% appreciation in value. Do you know what the historical value of multifamily units is? 3 to 4%. How can you stand there and say 1% is the correct number on a $10,000 study? I'll make this offer to Baker Tilly and to anyone in this room associated with the project. I'll give you a $100,000 option that over the next 20 years, it's going to exceed 1%, right? Tell you what, here's what we'll do. If it goes up 2%, we'll split the difference every 5 years, right? So if it increases additional 1% a year is in $70 million, that's $700,000 of tax revenue or a taxable value that should be taxed. It's not. There's nobody that believes 1% is a realistic number. Yet the council, the school board, and the county commission all agreed that. I believe they did not realize what they're agreeing to. In addition to this, right, it warrants that the North Dakota Department of Commerce review the numbers. You have a fiduciary duty. It's free. Also, I believe that, I don't know if you're familiar with North Dakota Doge. I think they're going to look into the Memorial Village 1 and 2 project. You know why? Because when I look at it, the North Dakota taxpayers, there's anywhere from $15 to $40 million of money was left on the table that belonged to North Dakota taxpayers. How do I arrive at that number? Mr. Sandy, Mr. Boshinsky, you're experienced developers. Location. What's the other thing?
Mr. Burklar, thank you for your time this evening. Your time has expired.
Municipal bonds, 3%.
Any further comments this evening, Ms. Lundmark? No. All right, thank you. We'll move on to item 5, action items. I've got a list here, 5. We're going to pull 5.3, 5.10, 5.11, and 5.12. Was there any other items that council wanted pulled for further discussion this evening? I think Ms. Larson's been sitting here waiting patiently through this. Sure you want to move into a big city? We think of ourselves as a big city, I guess. Any other items? All right, so look for approval on items 5.1, 5.2, 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, 5.7, 5.8, and 5.9.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve from Ms. Berg, second from Mr. Friedolfs. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. So we're, Ms. Storstad, we're left with 5.3, 5.10, 5.11, and 5.12.
5.3 is consideration of amendment to Class 3 alcoholic beverage license for the proposed new business.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gossett, I'm going to go to you first. I think you've been trying to look into this, trying to find a solution, but give us your update of where you're at right now on that and next steps.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, I want to take responsibility that I should have briefed this at the COW last week before it got to this point, so I will take responsibility. I'm glad I had the opportunity to review it in a little bit more detail. And I want to go through the analysis that I've gone through in this last week to review this particular matter. And I'm going to start with the Century Code. It's Century Code 5-0108 that talks about where minors can be within a facility. The first subsection is you can allow a minor to be in a restaurant with a parent. There's nothing about anybody actually having to eat at the restaurant. They can just walk in, is the way the statute reads. There's nothing about the percentage of sales as far as food sales under that exception under the state statute. Restaurants not defined in that particular statute, so I looked to the public health statutes. It's 230901, and that's not exactly helpful because all it talks about is a building that is held out or used where meals or lunches are served. So it doesn't put a lot of a box around that definition. The second statutory basis in Century Code where a minor is allowed is 5-0108 subsection 2, which then refers you to another statute, 5-0206. Under that particular statute, there are two relevant bases here. First is where you enter into a facility. There's no reference to restaurant. a facility with a parent or guardian, that you're there to eat a meal or you're there for an emergency. Not exactly sure what an emergency would be, but that's allowed. So I was directing it more at a meal is the way the exception reads. In the facility that serves food on tabletop, prepared in a kitchen with at least an indoor grill. The minor can't be there after 10 p.m. And it only relates to facilities that are in a town of 1,500 people or less or not within a city. So that doesn't necessarily apply to us. The second provision under 50802 is where a person can be, a minor can be in a facility that is, again, a restaurant with a parent, not within 3 feet of where they're mixing the drinks, and not there after 10 p.m. We have this provision in our particular ordinance. It's 21-0228, subsection 2A. Again, it makes reference to a restaurant. The next relevant provision is where a minor is allowed in a restaurant where their drinks they are separated, where they're mixing them in a separated location, and food sales and alcohol sales are equivalent, or the food sales are at least equivalent to alcohol sales. We also have this in our ordinance as well. We define a restaurant to mean something where you're going for a meal, having a sit down, eating, consuming it in the facility. So my concern is that if this particular operation is deemed to be a restaurant, which as I understand is primarily focused on candy sales, it opens it up and there may be unintended consequences here with respect to convenience stores also being permitted to get a license. That would be a monumental policy shift for this city because we don't have any of those facilities in the city of Grand Forks, any convenience stores that have a liquor license. And so there may be unintended consequences by opening it up and deeming this to be a restaurant. Then every convenience store that sells candy or even hot food in a, those type of facilities would be eligible or could be eligible for this type of licensing, or come in and ask for a similar type of exception or new license for that operation. The other possibility is there is a state statute that allows for gas stations, grocery stores, or convenience stores to have a off-sale operation, but that off-sale operation has to be segregated from the non-licensed premises. And I think I've actually been in a convenience store where they have these operations where there's a wall, you have to walk through a separate door into the liquor store facility, and you can still go in and get a bag of chips. Again, the unintended consequences are this would open it up to convenience stores or any other similar type of facility that just doesn't have those today, that have not been approved by the city. And so it, again, would have unintended consequences here of if we allow this, and I understand that there may be some effort to have wine sales in a separate part of this operation. But again, that would be the same with respect to any other convenience store. And I know that there was some discussion about, well, maybe we could just limit this to this particular type of wine, only this type of alcohol. But it seems to me that then you're down another slope of, okay, who's next? What type of alcohol would be allowable? And where's the line to be drawn? So after reviewing it, I would not make a recommendation to make these type of changes for a new liquor license because, again, I believe that there'd be some unintended consequences that would shift what the policies have been for the city up to this point.
Mr. Gossett, just one quick question. If you've got, so if state statute lists gas stations, grocery stores, and convenience stores, it does have a definition though, or it has some way to define what those are. Could we move forward eliminating it so that those types of entities wouldn't be allowed to do this, but something in this vein would? Is there language that we could use on that front?
If you treated this facility, it has to be within the definition. We'd have to define this operation as probably a convenience store or a grocery store. Certainly it's available, but the concern is then the next person that comes in and says, I'm doing the same thing. I'm selling candy. I'm selling this type of food product. I want a license as well. So it could fit within this grocery store, convenience store, but it does have the potential of opening it up for other type of operations.
Right. And I understand that. I can't see a person walking by and saying that's a grocery store or a convenience store that sells chocolate and gift baskets. I'm just wondering, and there's always that conversation. It's a slippery slope, and where do you stop? Well, when it comes to city code, this is where it stops with the city council. So, I mean, it's obviously the council's prerogative how to move forward. If you want further exploration on options, or if you want this to be, you've got advice obviously from the city attorney, and we have to direct him where to go from here. So open it up to council. Ms. Osowski, please.
Yeah, I guess I would like to move approval with Mr. Gosted's recommendation of just kind of putting it to bed. I do think it opens up the doors for a lot of different types of situations, and it is a slippery slope. Next thing you know, we'll have like 15 classes of alcohol licenses individually drawn out for each company. I mean, everybody loves chocolate and wine, but I think that it's best that we just leave it where it is right now.
All right, we do have a motion, so I'm going to see if there's a second and we can further discussion. So her motion was to
deny.
Just to deny moving forward, right? Yeah, which would have been, yes. Okay.
Yeah, follow Mr. Gosted's recommendation.
Yes. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Got a second from President Sandy. No. Do you want further discussion? Ms. Berg.
I have a question. So, Mr. Gossett, what you were saying, we were directly talking about kids being allowed. If we remove the kid portion, are we still able to explore this topic of supporting a new business?
For sure. They'd be able to get a class 3 liquor license and without any minors in the premises.
Is there any special event permitting, or if they have those events through Ms. Lundmark's office that could be done, that would allow minors to be there, or what freedom is there on that? I'm just trying to think of.
There is a
options.
special permit, special event permit that would permit minors to be on the facility under that permit. It's a short term. It's not
ongoing.
Annual. Yep.
But if you had a birthday party or something, how quickly can you turn those around? I mean, it's going to be a pain, but I'm just trying to think of some solutions.
Mayor Buczynski, members of City Council, it usually can be a pretty quick approval process, especially if we have a designated premise and things are always operated in the same manner, the same seating area. She would just need to work with another business, and they would actually be the one that gets the permit to sell the alcohol that night. But then she would be no different than other private events where we have them.
Okay. If she had a class 3 license, would she still have to go through another entity to sell?
If she did close her facility to minors in total and got her own class 3 beer and wine license, then she would not need to do that. But then you would eliminate the possibility of someone under 21 being able to just come in and buy chocolate.
Okay. So what license type would she need to run the business without minors in there? Just the class 3? Then you'd be disallowed from applying for that special event permit then?
Yeah, she would, if she could just get either a grocery license or a restaurant license with the city, and she can have minors and sell chocolate to anyone. It doesn't allow for any alcohol service though. So if she were going to have alcohol service, wanted to do a private tasting type event, she would have to reach out and partner with someone who holds a permanent alcohol license in the city.
Okay.
And they would come in and serve the alcohol at that event, similar to what, say, the Empire Arts Center does when they have a special event.
Okay. All right. Any further? Miss Lunsky, please.
Instead of considering it a convenience store, is there a way to consider it a restaurant?
Yeah, you can define this as a restaurant, but then you're defining other convenience stores as a restaurant too, because I would think that they would fall within the same parameters. That's the issue that I'm trying to express to you, is that it does open up by defining this as a restaurant. Then there are others that would fit within that definition as well.
And there's no way to have like two sides where you can buy only chocolate. Anyone can buy chocolate here, and the wine, you have to enter a special door. But I suppose then you couldn't sample or drink it.
Yeah, then I think if I'm thinking this through properly, is that you would designate the area that would be selling the alcohol as your class 3, and you would not allow any minors to be in that portion.
We have a class 3 license
for that. Well, can we get Ms. Lundmark, then we'll go to you, Ms. Osowski, just in case you had something.
Mayor Buczynski, members of City Council, I think right now we don't have the alcohol in a convenience store, primarily because our city code requires that there be a total and complete separation between where alcohol is sold and where general other products are sold, whether they're food or whatever they are. They can't even share a back room. They can't share a cashiering station. The state code does allow for, if you had 2 entrances and a wall, but you could have a shared cashiering area where one clerk could serve both sides of the business. We have, in the past, had a city council has not wanted to open that up to allow for that type of operation in Grand Forks. We have had questions before from convenience store companies wanting to know why they can't serve off sale here when maybe they do in Grafton or Wapaton or other communities in the state. And so I guess that would be the question. If we were going to open it up and allow here, it would, as Mr. Gost had said, open up other businesses to come in and say, we'd like to do the same thing. So it's kind of a policy decision.
Ms. Osowski.
Yeah, I just want to say, I have no issue with her running her business, but we're talking about children here. And we're talking about allowing children in a place that, according to what she said, is mainly going to serve alcohol. And I mean, we already have an underage drinking problem in this town. I don't even understand why we're contemplating on whether or not children are allowed in a place like this. If your primary business is to sell alcohol and just you're going to serve it with chocolates, that's great. But I don't think that that's a place that really minors need to be. I think almost at this point it becomes more of an ethical issue. I don't care what she sells. I don't care as long as it's to people of age. And right now we're discussing allowing children in a place that is going to primarily serve alcohol. And I don't know if that's even ethically right, especially with our history within the city of Grand Forks with underage drinking. So I don't care what she sells, but we're discussing children here. And I have a hard time just believing that everybody is just okay with opening the doors to an establishment that mainly serves booze or wine to children. Children have no need to be in there at all. If it's not, there are many other candy shops that don't serve wine where kids can go buy candy. I think if her primary goal is to sell candy to children, then she doesn't need to have wine, or she can have the separate room. But I think right now it's a little bit of an ethical issue to me on allowing children in places that primarily serve alcohol.
Thank you. I think from last week, the primary sales is the chocolate. The wine was an ancillary thing.
I thought that the reason why she couldn't do this stuff is because she doesn't qualify as a restaurant because 30% of her sales weren't coming from food.
because it's not a restaurant.
Well,
that was the reason,
right.
not because of the third. I think the percentage was, and maybe Ms. Larson can speak to that if you don't mind on what the mix is.
I just don't think we should be discussing letting people.
Or maybe Sherry has that, so you don't have to come up here.
Children.
Ms. Larson, if you want to come up and share more of your business plan, I know, just again, but her primary business is Annie's Chocolates, and the thought was, besides chocolates, she does have a signature wine that she has worked with a vineyard on, and the wine would be a minor part. It's a candy shop, but you could make gift baskets that could be sold with wine and chocolate combined, or perhaps to have people be able to have a glass of wine or a cup of coffee in a small seating area, or an after private party type of thing.
Right.
But the primary focus is on the candy, not on the wine. So
thank you for having me, members of the council and president. The main thing I wanted was, I have this chocolate store, and I thought that pairing wine with it would be a great idea for after hour experiences. So when I came last week to meet with the council, I talked about just selling wine by the bottle to be consumed off-site, and then at these private events that I would want to host in the evening, so that minors could come in and buy all the chocolate they want. So it would be, I was asking for a behind the bar, like the alcohol would be behind our main general bar area, and that only the employees would be able to handle it. I wasn't asking for serving by the glass, but that is something that was brought up last week to be able to do. So I apologize for any confusion.
Thank you. Ms. Berg, did you have a comment, or did that get cleared up?
You corrected the information. Yep.
Perfect. Well, council, Mr. Friedolf.
Just real quick. So around the country, I've been to other places, and I was just looking it up. There are restaurants that serve dessert only. So I don't understand why. I mean, I understand the experience part, and I know I can bring my kids into a restaurant and they don't feel like the need to steal my wine. But I'd like to get to yes somehow on this, and I'm not sure how. And I mean, Dan, you were Mr. Gosted, you were the final say in keeping us out of trouble. But there's got to be a way to get to yes, and I'm not sure yet. Because I think it's a great experience, right? We want new businesses. We want to create new experience. I think the experience part of it's awesome, but I'm not sure how to get there yet.
Okay. Mr. Gosta, you had your finger up, so please.
I did. Just to comment to Councilmember Friedhoff's comment, you can draft something to allow this. It's what the consequences would be for others requesting the same licensing.
So the risk you're bringing up is not a legal risk. It's the risk that you'll have convenience stores, other entities that would claim the same type of license, right? Okay. So I think does that help clear it up for you?
It's clear, but I think you're in a convenience store that says we're just a chips place, and we're going to serve wine with chips. This is a very specific entity that's serving candy and is a dessert place with wine on the side.
All right. Any further comments for today or action that you want to do or direction you want to give? We do have a motion, a second on the floor. President Sandy?
I think it'd be great. I don't know how to get to yes. I agree with Mr. Friedhoff. There are all sorts of fun places and fun things out there. I don't know how to get there. I think perhaps, I don't know if we want to, Mr. Goss said he's given us his review. I have no actually relevant information.
First time ever.
I want to get to yes.
Well, we do have a motion second on the floor right now, so you could I guess choose to move forward with that, or you can choose to ask Mr. Gosta to come up with possible solutions. It's up to council, but we do have a motion second on the floor, which would kind of at least kill it for today. So if there's no further discussion, I would ask for a vote on Ms. Osowski's motion. So seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
I think I got Why don't we just roll call that? I can't keep track of that. I think it was defeated 4-3 or 5-2, but why don't you just roll call that?
Just in case. Okay. Okay. Osowski.
Aye.
Weigel.
No.
Berg.
No.
Lunsky.
No.
Friedels.
No.
Veen. And President Sandy.
Okay, so that
Motion
motion was
fails.
defeated. Motion fails. So, Mr. Gossett, I'm going to take that as to go back to the drawing board and see if there's any possible solutions and options that you could come bring back to the cow. If you can't do it next week, why don't you wait for a few more weeks?
Yeah, I'm taking direction to come up with either defining this as a restaurant or it fits this grocery store, convenience store mechanism. This is the way
Or it
I
doesn't fit
understand
that. Yeah, one of those two.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. I think we beat that one up well enough. All right, item 5.10, Ms. Storstad.
Decision document for project 8951 US Highway 2 and Airport Road intersection improvements.
All right, Ms. Osowski, do you have comments, please?
Yeah, I have comments on this one. First off, I said this earlier in the meeting that I think public safety should be our number one priority as city leadership. It is why we are here. I understand that there is a big push for the 2-lane roundabout from the county, and I read the presentation, but what really makes me nervous about this is we aren't going to do it right the first time, and that makes me nervous. I agree that roundabouts are safer than the current stoplights that we have there, but a roundabout is not safer than a diamond interchange at high speeds. Okay. And Mr. Bierke was up here the other week telling us how if it was only a speed issue, it's still, even if we reduce the speed, it wouldn't stop the crashes because speeders are speeders. And so I just want to make sure that this project is done right the first time and that we don't have other issues with just kind of taking, the shortest and the least cost of our options on this. I would love to see a grade separated interchange at this. I don't want any more lives lost. People don't slow down for a stoplight and flashing lights. I don't know why they're going to slow down for a roundabout. That doesn't really make any sense to me. This intersection has been a huge problem in our community for decades now. And I think if we have the opportunity to do it right, I think we should do the right thing and we should put an interchange in there. I think the roundabout would be very helpful, but I don't want to make a decision that maybe someone else might lose their life. And I think that a grade separated interchange is the best. I think if we push hard, if we work together with the county and the state, I think we can get it done in less time and at a cheaper cost than what is in the presentation. And I think we as a council, because they're just asking us for our recommendation, we know they're going to do what they want anyways. That's how we got the jug handle. I think that if they're asking us for our opinion, we should shoot for the stars and we should try to put the best option out there regardless of cost, because at the end of the day, there's a woman who goes home at night without her child anymore because of this intersection. And that accident still could have happened at this roundabout. And I don't want us to just pass this off as the quickest, easiest fix when I think that there could be something better. And Highway 2, with development and everything in the Air Force Base and our airport, it's only going to get busier. And like I said, roundabouts may be safer when it comes to stoplights, but at high speeds, they are not safer than a diamond interchange or a clover interchange. So I'm going to advocate for the interchange and kind of go from there. And I hope that other people support just going for the best project that we can have a part of. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Susky. President Sandy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I wasn't here in person last week, and I don't think that although I said a few comments, I'm not sure I expressed my opinion on this in a way that people actually understood, or at least in my mind, maybe not. I do want to congratulate the county. There was an article in the paper recently that the county had a tremendous year on road construction projects. 2025 was one of the best. I can't remember Nick West's comments, but like an anomaly. It was outstanding. And 2026 looks to be the same because of all the additional federal dollars that have been flowing into the county. Mr. Bierke stood up here last week and challenged the city council members that we aren't prioritizing things correctly, and we're putting money into an interchange down on South Grand Forks when we should be putting it at the corner of Demers and Airport Road. When I question, what is the county doing with all the money? They're doing projects all over the place. Yeah,
It's on, buddy. Let's go. Let's go.
Point is, he asked us to reprioritize. I don't know. Mr. Krinko, do you have any idea how many road construction projects the county did within the city limits of Grand Forks this last year? Have any idea?
That's a answer I do not have for
County
you.
question. You're right. Well, I congratulate them for doing all that great work. To the best of my knowledge, the city of Grand Forks is 80-ish, 82% of the population of the Grand Forks County. I wonder what percentage of the dollars that the Grand Forks County does related to road construction projects actually happen within the city limits of Grand Forks. But I digress. That's not important right now. What is important is the county does road construction projects in the county every year. They do them in and around the city of Grand Forks every single year. Some big, some small, some culverts, some bridges, some gravel, you name it. Mr. Krinko, I'll put you on the spot, but it's probably more apt for a city engineer question. When was the last time DOT asked the city of Grand Forks for an opinion on a county road construction project?
I can't think of one.
I've been here 15 and a half years and not one single time. Not one.
Yeah, I don't have an answer on that one.
Mayor Bochensky, Councilman Sandy, I think the question is, it's a state highway, and they will regularly ask the city and the county, the various entities, their opinion on state highways. It happens I remember on Kennedy Bridge, there was quite a discussion back on that one. And so it's not unusual that they come in and ask an opinion. They may or may not follow the opinion, but they usually ask their participating entities. And this is the reason that we're being asked, as the DOT mentioned last week, is it is in the urban limits.
That's very good. Thank you, Mr. Grasser. So that leads to my point. They do occasionally ask. Like they did for I-29, reducing the speed limit through the city of Grand Forks. It wasn't long ago when they came here and asked us how we felt about reducing the speed limit. Does anyone remember how we voted on that? 7Z. Everyone at this table voted not to reduce the speed limit. What did the county do? I won't ask you, Mr. Grasser. Mr. Krinko, what did the county do?
That was Council President Sandy. That was the state.
Yeah,
and
DOT.
if memory serves, the initial motion to deny the request to reduce the speed limit, I believe that was ultimately defeated. And then when there was a new motion to reduce the speed limit down to 70, I believe that one passed. I'd have to probably refer to.
It was defeated 7-0. Every single person on the city council voted not to lower the speed limit through the city of Grand Forks. DOT did it anyway. Nonetheless, my point of saying that is I have no hard feelings against DOT. They do a lot of great things for the city of Grand Forks. I appreciate that they prioritize dollars for us. And certainly I will support them prioritizing dollars for a county project that Grand Forks County wants to do to make things safer at County Road 5 and Gateway Drive to make things safer out there. I just don't understand why the city of Grand Forks needs to take a position on a county project. I do actually believe that the DOT and Grand Forks County are simply looking for cover in case this doesn't go well. They want to be able to point the finger at everyone sitting at this table. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't think that's nefarious. If I were in their shoes, I would be asking us to do the same thing. I'd be going to the county looking for a letter of support. In this case, I have no problem. Put in a Ferris wheel or a moat. I don't care what they do out there. What I do, all my point is, I don't understand why we would give support to a project that has nothing to do with the city of Grand Forks. Thank you, Mayor.
Yep, thank you. Just quickly point out that DOT's been a wonderful partner over the years, and they continue to be so. So we really do appreciate what they do for us. Any further comments on the item or motions?
Pretty rhetorical.
I think it was rhetorical. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. All right, council members, any further comments or action you'd like to take on this item? Going once. Go, you got it twice, Mr. Bean.
Well, yeah, I think I got to remember the motion that came out was for the 2-lane roundabout, right? And now we're trying to decide whether, now we're making final action on that. Is there going to be 2-lane roundabout? And I think, like so many others, last week I came in with the idea that the grade separated crossing was the best one. Most expensive, but was the best one. And a lot of that looked at speed and severity of crashes, if I remember right, and looking at the number of conflict points. Because I was convinced, I thought the grade separated crossing was the right thing to do. And as we've all said, public safety is paramount. We want to keep people safe, and I know it's expensive, but I would also agree there should be a means of expediting the project based on the severity of the crashes that have occurred there. So I'm still wondering, at least what I've seen, the 2-lane roundabout is safer. But the question is, out in the middle of a rural area, of course, it's Highway 5, is in fact the 2-lane roundabout safer? I still got to ask that question.
If you have the answer, Mr. Krickle, please.
Oh, I certainly do not have the answer to that, Mayor Baczynski, but we do have Thomas Faulkner with Olteg online who should be able to provide you a decent answer.
Mr. Faulkner.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me. I believe I'm going to give the same answer I did last week. It's really difficult to say which is the safest. What I can tell you is the numbers are showing that each alternative, the single lane, the 2x1, and the interchange all have reduced crash potential and crash severity. The single lane and the 2x1, very similar in the crash severity and crash potential reduction. And then, the interchange does have the least amount of crash potential in all of them. What I will say is that crash severity that you tie into the roundabouts is significantly less. So if you have an accident, it's kind of a side swipe, fender bender type thing. The risk to serious injury or death has lowered significantly in the roundabouts. I can't give you a definitive which is the safest because there's so many variables that fall into it. What I can tell you is that reduced crash potential and severity are all better for all options, are better than what is there today. And then with the roundabouts, they're very similar between the two, the single lane versus the 2x1.
What's the speed limit on a roundabout?
So currently the speed limit we have this designed for is going into 30 miles an hour.
But Mr. Veen, did you have anything further? Any
No,
follow-up?
I mean, I guess we have 55-mile-an-hour speed limit on both sides right now. Is that right?
So it'll be 55 on both sides, and then it kicks up to 70 miles west on Highway 2. What will happen is we'll have signage and striping to indicate to the driver that there is a change in geometry coming up. And then the geometry of the roadway itself will be designed to awaken the driver, make the driver alert, and then help slow the vehicle down as well.
Thank you.
Vice President Weigel, please.
Mayor, I'd make a motion that the city of Grand Forks doesn't object to the county project west of town.
I'll second. Okay, we got a motion and a second that the city does not object.
I have a question.
Okay.
So we're just not going to object to whatever the county wants to do,
That's my motion. We don't object to the county project.
but we're not giving a recommendation, correct? Fair.
Very brave of us. All right. We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Faulkner.
You're allowed to come and talk at the county meeting. We're about free speech.
5.11 is the Ultra Sports Complex Project Phase 1 and 2 updates and Ultra Sports Complex Phase 2 approvals.
All right, Ms. Osowski.
I have a quick comment and then we can vote. I really think that we should have taken phase 1 and the savings that we had and just went forward with the original project. I'm very disappointed that we're maxing out our bonding capabilities on this $100 million and putting in basketball courts that I personally feel this community doesn't need. So I will be not voting for this today, but thank you. I'm ready to vote.
Thank you, Ms. Osowski.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion approved from Burke, second from Vice President Weigel. Any further discussion? Item 5.11. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-1 with Osowski dissenting.
And 5.12, Enclave Property Management Latitude Phase 2 Tax Incentive Development Project.
All right, same
Yeah,
question, Ms.
I'm
Osowski.
ready to vote. I do not support these pilot projects at all. And I will not support them going forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
Motion
Council.
to approve with a
Motion.
comment.
Okay, motion approved from Berg. I'll get a second, then we'll go back to you for comment. Second from President Sandy. Ms. Berg, please.
Following seeing the article in the Herald regarding the situation down south, I did reach out to Mr. Gausted for us to protect ourselves in the future. Can you comment on that?
I can. One is the way I read that article, it was a TIF arrangement as opposed to a pilot. So there are probably some tax dollars that have been invested in that particular facility. Two, I'm not certain how that building could be exempt, although I'm not the purveyor of that conclusion. But third, we do have provisions in our contract right now that talk about if it doesn't meet the reasonable expectations of the city. Certainly the reasonable expectations of the city is this stuff's going to be taxable at the end of the term of the agreement. And I believe that if something like that would happen, we would invoke that provision and seek all the remedies because we do have a remedies clause under those development agreements. Now, to make it more clear, we can certainly add additional language to say there's going to be a clawback or could be a clawback for those tax savings that have been enjoyed if the property would happen to be sold to a entity that would be granted tax exempt status. I can't preclude that from happening because if you're granted tax exempt status by state law, you're granted that exemption. But there's mechanisms under our agreement that I believe already exist, but we can make it even more clear.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gosted. I think you do a pretty darn good job when you put together these agreements, and I think we're pretty confident that we're in good shape there. I do know if there's any transfer of that would have to come back in front of council. That's another. And I don't know if anyone wasn't aware of that. There was a church that had purchased a property that was under some type of a TIF agreement, and they were intending to use that for clerical housing and student religious housing near NDSU campus. Is that correct? can't make it up.
I think it's attached to the NDSU Catholic Church. So Roar's development created built a large apartment complex. Had to renovate the neighborhood, and several single family homes went under. So that got incorporated into the church, and they created different rules and in regulations. So it's really, I would say, Catholic owned multifamily housing. And I think that's where Mr. Gossett says it questions whether that qualifies being tax exempt.
Any further discussion? President Sandy?
Just a question. I'm not sure. I think this is for Ms. Storstad. When you look at the enclave, the financial analysis that we have, it talks about post value improvements, 10,400,000. Post value of the land is 600,000. 2026 value, blah blah blah. And then second from the bottom of that table is annual value increase 1%. That I believe that's what Mr. Beauclair mentioned earlier today, that we're using a 1% annual increase in value for doing our analysis. And so can you explain how that actually works?
So President Sandy, members of City Council, what this is, it's an example. It's not an exact. So how they'll be taxed is based on actual value and the mill levy for that year. These are assumptions that are made for purposes of demonstration. It doesn't mean these numbers are locked in. This is purely a demonstration.
It's purely to show what it could be in the future. And we use 1% as a conservative adjustment, but our city assessor assesses the property when the pilot is over, and they pay fair market value or pay real estate taxes on the then fair market value. It has nothing to do with what Mr. Beauclair was saying, that it's 1% locked in. It's not. It's
So thank you for pointing that out. So yes, this will go through an annual evaluation of assessed value every year.
Even during the
because of the land.
And during
because the building itself, because if it's a 90%, that 10%.
Oh, thank
is
you.
gonna
The
go up.
10%.
So, yes.
Exactly. Correct.
So they will revalue it every year, just like any other.
Very good.
Other
Thank
property.
you.
So
thank you, Mr.
I think if Marine would have put on there an estimated 5% inflation, similar people would have come up and said, we're overinflating and trying to demonstrate the tax revenue is going to be higher than it actually will be. So like a lot of things around here, no good deed will go unpunished, because people just argue the other side of the matter, which is, if we could all do that, right? So again, Marine's trying to be conservative and not, make sure that people are likely going to get more. The local entities are going to get more in revenue than what our projection is. And if you know anything about Marine, she wants to make sure she doesn't overestimate things.
all right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-1 with Osowski dissenting. And that's it for action items. Move on to item 6, information items. There are none. Item 7, approval of minutes and bills.
7.1, vendor list and engineer's estimate.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved from Ms. Burke, second from Mr. Friedolfs. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
And 7.2 minutes from January 20th.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve as is from Ms. Burke, second from Vice President Weigel. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item 8, city administrator comments. Mr. Phelan, any comments this evening?
No, nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 9, mayor and council member comments. Ms. Osowski, any
No, thank
comments
you,
this
Mayor.
evening? Thank you. Ms. Berg, any
No,
comments?
thank you.
All right. Ms. Slunsky, any comments?
Thank you for turning the heat on tonight. It was delightful.
Mr. Friedolf?
No, sir.
All right. Mr. Veen, any comments?
It was a little warm tonight.
The other side of it. Who would have thought? All right. Thank you, Mr. Veen. Vice President Weigel?
No, thank you, Mayor.
All right. President Sandy?
Contrary to what people think, Mr. Bierke and I are quite good friends, so it's always fun to rub each other a little bit. So after that, thank you, no mayor.
All right. Thank you. I have no comments this evening. Just thank you, everyone, for sticking it out. And with that, we'll look for a motion
I
to
move
adjourn.
adjournment.
Motion to adjourn from Ms.
Second.
Osowski, second from Ms. Berg. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.